Hello and welcome to the first webinar that has been produced and planned by the wonderful team at Details Flowers. My name is Corrine Heck. I'm the founder and CEO of Details. We launched back in March of 2015 and have learned so much over the last 4 years that we have decided to put together this webinar series, and we're not sure how long it's going to last. It's just a matter of what the content is and what people are asking for. But we wanted to bring you this great educational information that if you are just starting out in the business and if you are looking to grow your business more, or if you're an established florist, we think there are always some good values that you can look at or adjust as your years go by. I know this is probably one of the biggest weeks of the year because it's Mother's Day week, so we have our beautiful lilacs here. But I did want people to take a break, and if you are joining us for the first time or if you're a seasoned Details user, we would love for you to answer or ask any questions throughout the series, and be sure to send those over at hello@detailsflowers.com. I started in the event design business almost 15 years ago, and it was through just a lot of trial and error that we were able to build a successful business. And once we did that and we started putting out these gorgeous proposals, all of my wedding friends and associates were saying, how can we do this and incorporate some of the things that you're doing in your business? So we really set out about, 10 years ago to bring Details Flowers software to market. And I'm really proud of the team that we've established and what we were able to do. So if you know anything about us, we have a lot of core values in our company. I try to do my best to teach my team every single one of these core values. And I think it's really essential as you're starting your business to really decide what's important to you and your business. And I think that's been part of our success, and also to let our customers know. And one of the most important things that we really believe in and support is education. We've traveled all across the country this year, going to Green Bay, Wisconsin. We went to Grand Rapids, Waco, Texas for the Team Flower event. We've done Design Sanctuary, and we have so many more events that we're planning to do this year. And you'll know if you see us at any of these events that we give great discounts. So we love to honor our first-time users when they're getting started. If they go to an educational event, we love to give them some great promotions and encourage them to get started, because there's never a better time than getting started today. But what we realized is that we were failing to meet a lot of the people that maybe can't attend these events, and they really wanted to get more hands-on educational instruction. So we're going to do this webinar series. Probably at least we have 5 planned right now, but we're going to be offering discounts to anybody that registers and attends these events. So if you're just dropping in and you want the discount code for this webinar, it's S1E1, and we'll go back through that at the end along with some special announcements. But I'd love to get started. So if you're an event florist, you probably started as a hobby florist doing friends events or smaller weddings just to really sink your teeth in and get some design experience. But I think there's some very important business foundations that everybody needs to be aware of or think about as they're starting their business. And they may sound really basic, but a lot of people are doing it wrong all over, and we see it every day. So I'm just going to jump up. So I have some PowerPoint slides to refer to, and if you are registered, you're going to get a downloadable PDF. So please visit this registration link if you're interested in getting this, because it will include this information all for you. So you can take notes if you would like, but we have a handy dandy, wonderful what's in your bucket. So we'll be sending that out. So one of the most important aspects, of course, is just creating your presence. What is it that you're telling the world about your business, and what can they infer just by looking at your website? So it's really important to look at your logo, your styling, your font choices. These are all simple things that will reflect your personal style and your brand. This is something that you can do even before you're opening your business, and you should have all of these components really outlined. And I do suggest like a really strong plan. So of course have a logo. Have a great website. You can go on to GoDaddy and register one. You can even build your own website for a pretty nominal expense. My first website was built on WordPress, and I did it all myself before I was able to hire anybody. So take those steps and you'll really save yourself a lot of money if you learn how these components work. Of course, set yourself up on social media. I always love to tag people. We're doing more and more of that as we create more relationships. So doing that cross-pollination of just knowing who is your target market or who they might service, it's really a great way to like get in front of a really great audience who's looking for your services. And of course, go to Google Business. This was something that we really had registered wrong for years. I was an event florist, but we've moved over into the software scene. So we really had to update our Google profile to make sure that people that were looking for our service could find us. And that's super essential. The next thing you're going to really want to do is your policies and your terms for your company. So these might be things that you experience and you know that you need to write these policies into your contracts moving forward, but they're simple things that you really need to have a structure. And what I found when brides or clients are coming into my office, they're really looking at me for direction. And if I don't know what these directives are, then they have nowhere to kind of create their like starting point. So I like to go through all of my liabilities, what I'm responsible for, and these should be outlined in your terms. Now, when you're first starting with our software, we really give you some great prerequisites and presets, but of course you can always add your own, and this is an area we're looking to really help and expand on. You need to be able to outline your retainers. How are people going to pay you? If you don't give someone a contract with these simple terms, they're not going to know how or when you're wanting to accept your money. So please make sure that you outline those and define those. And share this information with your team so it's across the board. Anybody who's helping you really knows every policy and procedure that runs from your company. Item finalization, you need to really outline everything that you're going to do with them, and you have to set deadline dates for when these changes can be made. Guest counts. A lot of times we've showed up at a wedding and they've added 3 or 4 tables, and that can be detrimental to setting up an event because you're not prepared for that. So really make sure that particularly when you need to get those final orders in and when they need their final guest counts. Rental policies. So I've seen companies that don't have a different rental policy as part of their procedures, and that always comes back when 5 things are missing or they're damaged, sending out that letter like, hey, these were poorly returned. And you really should outline how you're going to handle those up front. And I would go over all these important policies with my clients when I'm signing that contract step by step. When they cancel their event, how are you going to handle this? As a business owner, you need to make sure that you're giving them the proper information so that you know how you're going to handle these procedures when they do occur. And unfortunately, they do happen all the time. People cancel their events. So we've really made it as part of our floral business to give them a certain time limit for which to use those funds if they should cancel. But a lot of times you might want to contact the venue and see how they're handling the particular situation, because everything is different depending on family circumstances. So I'd say have some serious yes and no's, but maybe there's a gray area there depending on the if you need to substitute some products. So not everything comes in exactly as you were intending. So I do suggest that you're very clear with your customers on what you're going to give, but also that the substitutions are a very necessary component when you're in the floral industry. We don't often know when weather situations are going to happen or when things bloom early. So it's always best to make sure that your customers know that you're going on a certain color scheme, but I would never overpromise and underdeliver. And I think that's one of the most important things. Artistic license. So when we've contracted events, I qualify my clients so that they have definitely seen everything in the work that I've done. And they know when they're with me that they're hiring me based on my artistic ability, that they have seen the work that I like, that I've done, and that they're happy with that. And by signing over their contract, they're really giving me full expression to take all the concepts and ideas to deliver it to them. And this is something I just go over and make sure that they're really happy with all the work that we've previously demonstrated. And this has worked out really well for us. Photography and permitted uses. So I highly believe in supporting our photographers photographers because we depend on them so much for great photographs of our work. But do let your clients know if you intend to photograph this bouquet or how you're going to be using this in your portfolio. So many of us need pictures of our products to show in the future. And if you don't have a great relationship with the photographer they might have hired, A, I'd start and create a relationship with them, but B, make sure you photograph your own work and that this is something that the bride will support. Weather clauses and changes. So we're in Florida and we often get hit with really crazy weather situations. So we have always outlined it in our policies exactly what those were going to be. If you're in one of the northern states and maybe their wedding is in January and there's a blizzard, you need to know what are the extra steps that you're going to take or you will not take for that client. And be really clear with them up front during the consultation, because when these situation happens, it's a very high stress situation for everybody. There's product that needs to come in from all over the world and you need to know how to react to it. So definitely work out some of those things depending on where you are located. And then just changes. You know, these are some of the basic policies, but when we have major changes, you might charge a fee on top of that. It's not until these circumstances happen and you're really seasoned and into your business that you know how to think about these different policies or terms. But it really is great if you can get some different feedback from other people in the industry. And this is why we have our community forums, so that you can ask these questions and really make sure that they're giving you a great answer, or that you know how to put this into your business practice. All right, so when you're starting your company, of course, you need to know the terms. And I would suggest looking at those every year, if not every quarter, to make sure that you are updating these with different situations that have happened in your business. But some of the event defaults is the pre-settings that happen every single time you do a contract. Some of those are the taxes that you have to pay in your area, whether you have to charge a service tax or a labor tax or a product tax. Every state in the United States has different tax laws, so it's really important that you have a really great tax advisor. Unfortunately, Details doesn't advise on what those tax situations need to be for your individual state, but we do request that you contact an accountant to make sure that when you set up your contracts, you are doing it with the legal boundaries of your state. How you charge your clients on labor is something that is one of the biggest topics. So some people include it as an additional labor fee, and some people include it with the cost of the flowers. So that's something when you're first starting, you should really come up with a formula that works well for you. Inside Details, you can preset all of these items to happen the way that you would like them to do. So we found that not every florist wants to charge the same way across the board. So we've tried to make our software very customizable to work with any type of arrangement that you are looking to do. But you could charge by the person that comes for the day of, how many hours you're on site, how many people are going to take to strike that event and clean it up. Also the service fees for which you charge for your flowers or your markups. We found that doing this for the last 4 years, there's so many varying ways of mathematics that florists have been using to prepare their events. And it's simply like mind-boggling to me. So at Details, we've really tried to simplify that process and really help you bring and understand what your markup needs to be. We found that most florists are very successful when they're working at a 300% profit margin. And that is the cost of the product times 3 of them. And when you add those together, that comes up what the actual price should be. So here in this graphic, if the cost is $45 and you're doing a 300% markup, that's adding $135 onto that to make that price $180. This goes into covering all of the fees that your business might be having, in, from everything from the electrical to your rent and those everyday expenses. So you really need to make sure that you're adding that cost back in. And it's shocking to me when people say, oh, I'm doing a 300% markup, but they're only doing it times 2 and not adding that cost back in. So they're really, not only are they hurting their business, but they're also hurting their local community because they're seriously undercharging for where products should be. So one of our goals here at Details is to make sure that all of our florists understand their margin. We have a really great course. If you're a member, 2 courses actually, Details 1 and Details 2, that basically walks through setting up your company, make sure that you're really looking out for all of those expenses and that you're properly charging. All right. So part of the financials is also making sure that you have a separate bank account. For the first year of my business, it really was stressful because I was commingling my funds from my family and my business. I wasn't quite sure where I was. Was I a hobby or was I a real florist? And really at the very beginning, when you first start taking any money in, you need to make sure that you have those separate from your personal assets and your business. And it will just make everything that much easier. It's also very helpful for cash flows if you know exactly how many weddings you might need to book in a season to cover all of your expenses. And when you take into account that 3 times markup, you can really get a good idea of where you need to narrow in at, and you can set goals. We have a really wonderful cash flow projection that we use not only for our business, but I've also adapted it for my personal expenses. And it really makes a huge difference when you can see a plan of where you're going and the different budgets or actions that you'll need to take as a business owner to make sure that you're successful at meeting those goals. And we like to help you out there with details. I mean, mathematics isn't really a strong point for most florists. So that's where if you can integrate a software solution that helps you plan and organize and capture all of this information, it really makes it more of, a fun video game than anything else. If you do payment processing, keep in mind of those extra charges. And it might be something where you need to consider, are you going to pass these fees along to your clients, or are you going to absorb them as the cost of doing business? It can add up to a whole lot. So make sure that you're really thinking about how those charges impact your business and, the whole big picture of what you're doing. And that goes along with the convenience fees. We offer invoicing, and it's really great when you have an automated invoice that will go out to your client to remind them when those bills are due. We have an option of 3, 10, or 2 weeks, I believe, and it becomes the bill collector for us. So you don't have to send reminders or initiate those payment experiences. They can click right through your website, view your contract, sign it right then and there, and then you have a documented IP, not only signature, but timestamp of when that client agreed to the terms that you were setting forth. So we really think this makes you a very professional florist, but also with a very positive experience. All right, so that pretty much wraps up the very just quick, easy tips for what you can do to build the foundations of your business. Our next webinar is going to be the top 5 wedding proposal must-haves. So we're going to actually walk through and demonstrate in our software how you can easily click and create not only a great color story, a mood board, but also incorporating all the important aspects. And so we're going to give you some great tips on that. It will probably be coming out in the next 2 weeks. And again, if you attend and register for that event, you can get a great coupon that you'll be able to use. Those coupons are only good for the next 2 weeks. So keep that in mind if you are interested in signing up. And then this is a fun announcement I was wanting to make today. We are offering for the first time a virtual design assistant. So what does that mean exactly? So for our novice florists that are just getting started, they may not know exactly the volume of flowers that it might take to create a certain look. We have seasoned designers with over 30 years experience combined that are interested in helping you do just that. If you're a florist that has a ton of events and you really just need some back-end components built for you to make that great presentation, it may be worthwhile to contract one of our virtual design assistants. And you can reach out to us at hello@Details Flowers for more information. If you're a Details user right now and you think you'd be a great virtual design assistant, we do have an accreditation program that we're starting. So reach out to us. We would love to talk to you and hear more about it. And also you'll have to submit some of your contracts. So these are some of the beautiful ones that you can design within Details. It really showcases not only your work and your ideas, but it puts together the whole visual creation of what you're doing. But that's really something that we're super proud about and can't wait to see some of those contracts and how you guys are booking them. Here's again for that great information on the $200 off your annual. And the code is S1E1. And again, that will only be valid for 2 weeks, so you'll have to catch one of our next webinars if that's something that you're interested in. And let me see here if we have any questions that I might need to get to. I ran through that pretty fast. Anything that's going on? Yay! Hey Perry, how's it going? Let's see here. Oh, I've never done this before. Oh, Deborah, I'm so glad you joined us. I know it's busy with Mother's Day. I thank you guys. I know it's really tough to step away, but we're wanting to make these short and abbreviated. And of course, if you have extra questions, the details staff is always in our offices Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. If any of you know, we have a really great support team that is just so helpful on onboarding our florists and making sure they're current on all the new settings. We're about to release some new features, which I know one went out yesterday. It was our order combining. We really wanted you to be able to combine multiple events and see how much product you'll need to order. Ooh, Eek, you missed the code. Samantha, it's S1E1. See how great they are. They're already on top of it. Yeah, but this is just a little journey into our office here at Details. We're really excited to be helping so many florists throughout the United States and even globally. We have a lot of florists across Australia, you know, the United Kingdom, Ireland, Italy. It's very, very exciting to see how many people are benefiting from the software, and we always love to hear new ideas too. So if there's something that you're just really wishing for or hoping for, I'm sure it's on our roadmap and we can give you a better idea when that might happen. But we love to hear from people because my side of the business was primarily dealing with events and weddings, and that was my entire book of clients. But we also help very many retail florists. So we're really trying to find different ways to bridge that gap or help more of our event florists become retail. And if they're solely retail, to be able to have the tools to move into the events, because it is daunting and very stressful, much like putting on a webinar. But you have to challenge yourself. You have to really step outside of your comfort zone. And for me, like being amongst all these lights and stuff was really kind of scary, but you really just have to put yourself out there. So I encourage anybody, if they've been interested in looking at Details, to give us a closer look. We'll be happy to hold your hand through the whole process. Yeah, so I think I'm going to cut this off, but please feel free to send your questions our way at hello@detailsflowers. And until next time, bye. I really don't know how to turn this off though.